So we are going to make some wine with pineapples, melons and orange fruit. It's called something, I'm sure. Fake watermelon, it's actually a watermelon. Some sugar. And kiwi fruit. I actually made this wine yesterday and made a 10-liter demijohn, or demijohn as Anglo-Saxons all want to say, and dropped it all over the floor. So I've spent like 2.5 hours scooping up sugar, goo and glass and put it in this container and emptied it. I'm sticking to the floor and there's blood. That spot there is actually my blood. I bled on this floor. So I will need to clean some things like the bucket, and there's a cat. I'm not going to clean that one. And the juicer, I'm going to make juice out of the kiwi, and yeah. So I have washed my kiwi fruits, mainly because I don't know if there is any pesticide or anything on them. I washed them in hot water and a bit of star sand. I wouldn't want to use anything else really. Hot water should be enough, but I thought, what the hell. I cleaned my bucket and it's probably alright. I'm going to wash it in star sand later. I'm going to put all these into my juice machine and then I'm going to boil it. I'm also going to wash these and remove the extras, so to speak, but I'm going to save the peel. But the pineapple and the melon I'm going to peel because their skin is, their skin, whatever, is quite hard, and it's doubtful I'm going to boil it long enough for it to actually do what it's supposed to do. The reason I'm saving the peel on these are because there's enzymes in the fruit which will help dissolve the pectin in the fruit. I could add some pectolase or something like that, but I prefer to use as much of nature's own mechanisms as possible and not add a lot of chemicals or anything. So I'm going to chop these into halves and remove the whatever it's called, the things on the end, and the same there. So I have chopped them up into halves, and those as well, and you can see they are quite differently matured. This is not ripe, I wouldn't eat it. Compared to this, lovely juices, and it's very, very ripe and perfect. In this case I wouldn't really need to have the skin, but I will keep it anyway because I'm also lazy. Now to cut up the pineapples and the melon. Alright, the fruit is all chopped up and ready to be juice. This went fairly well. There was some cursing and some droppage of stuff on the floor, but on the whole it went fairly well. So now I'm going to put this 3D puzzle together and see if I can make some juice. The juice is ready. It looks marvelous. Everything is down there. The pulp, the skin, and of course the juice. I'm going to put the hot water kettle on, and I'm going to heat up, boil some water and pour it in. This is it should be about 10 liters. Let's see if we can find a measurement somewhere there. Yeah, 10 liters, which is something in imperial old obsolete units, I'm sorry. It's also time to feed my cat. There's one of them. Hello. And another one in there. And I'm sure there are others around somewhere. It's winter outside. That's our snow. And we have a bird feeder, a couple of them, around the house. Outside the house, of course. Anyway, it's time to feed my cats. I'm going they are always fed raw meat, which is as close to their natural food as possible. Cats are pure carnivores. They only eat meat, and they should be given meat and bones and other things which resides in bodies of animals. Cats should never be given vegetables or grain or anything. So basically most dry food is actually bad for them, and most normal wet cat food is also quite crappy in regards to nutrients and so on. So give them as close to their natural food as possible. I will be right back. So I've filled some water into the pot. It's now short of 14 liters. It was 9 before. I didn't really see the marking, but it was 9. Now it's almost 14. So I'm going to bring it to a boil with a pot the size of this, and that will take about 600 million years, especially since the pot is much bigger than the stove, the burner. It's not a burner, but I don't know what it's called in English. So, and it's going to boil for about 30, 35, 40 minutes or so. I'm also going to make some black tea, but I'm not going to put it in just yet. Instead I'm going to filter the gunk out of this before I put it in the bucket. The cats have been fed. They haven't ate anything, of course, because they are cats. So they come and go as they please. We feed them regularly on set times, trying to at least. Yeah, it's the same food on all the plates, but you never know, might be better. So, as you understand, there's an issue with cat hair. We try our best to not get those into food and drink and such, but it's a losing battle. It's totally impossible to avoid. It's another spice of life. There's a bit of foam forming, which means that it's not that far off from boiling. It's now about 3 p.m. But we're using like 24-hour clocks here because there's 24 hours in the day. Anyway, so I guess I'll let it sit here for 45 minutes, depending on how anxious I get. That's another project. That's a banana wine which is going to be racked and put into second fermentation probably today or tomorrow afternoon, depending on how the day turns out. It's been sitting there for a week and a half and it's still bubbling a bit, but there's a minute or 2 minutes between the bubbles, so it's probably ready. So I'm going to rack it and degas it and then put it, well, maybe into this one. It's a I think it's 20 or maybe 25 liters Donegan or Demijohn. I'm not sure. I could put it in a bucket, of course. I have several of those, but I like the Demigans as long as they don't slip and break. It's Christmas time soon, so I'm hoping to be able to bottle this apple wine that I've made. It's my first ever wine, so I don't have very high hopes for it. But it's been sitting in a bucket for 24 hours now, and it should have cleared enough so that I should be able to put it into bottles later. I'm not going to open it with one hand. Maybe you can. No, you'll have to wait for that one. So I put a lid on the pot. It's very hot in there. It's condensing water, but it should be simmering at least. We have to wait. I will be back. So we are almost there. I have been stirring it a few times during its boil. I've prepared some tea and I sanitized some equipment which I'm going to need. There's my sanitizing bath. I prepared a bucket with some muslin cloth, cheesecloth. I have some sugar and a little bit of muscovado sugar, 2 grapefruits, and some mulberries. I can't find any raisins without oil, and I don't want oil in my must or my wine. I'm sure it wouldn't be so bad or a big deal, but since mulberry is pretty much exactly the same as raisins, it doesn't really matter. It's yeah. And some spices. I have whatever this is called in English. Some citrus fruit, some cinnamon, some star anise, cloves, ginger, dried ginger. I don't know what else to do with it really. And I have some cardamom and some nutmeg. I'm going to grind down into it. And I have some more star anise, yes. An extra cloth because this one will be clogged up eventually, rather quickly, I suppose. It's very fine grains in the gunk, and quite a lot of it will go through this. So what I'm going to do is put a whatever this is called, and filter the largest chunks with that, and the finer stuff with the muslin cloth. So there are a few things I need to find, because there's a mess here, as I had to turn the kitchen upside down earlier, as I mentioned. And I will be back once I've transferred that into that. So I've been ladle it out into this filter apparatus that I have built here. And as I said earlier, it's quite thick and lots of fine grained gunk that clogs the net. So it takes a bit of time to do this. It looks quite nice, and the smell is wonderful, really. All of this is going to get squished in the muslin cloth later on, so I'm going to get as much use out of this as I possibly can. It's not much left. Guess I can soon. I will be able to pour it. There's about 5 liters left or something. Yep, see you soon. So here we are. Right now the must sits at 7 liters, I think. And I'm going to add the sugar. I started with a muscovado and then adding that. I'm going to make sure I get some more juice out of that. I'm just going to cool it a little bit because it's too hot to handle. Then I'm going to add the tea and the grapefruit and everything else. Yes. So I've squeezed out most of the juice from the pulp. There's still maybe a few deciliters left. Let's see if I can manage. I added the mulberries, and I took a reading, which I probably can't see, but it's around 145 or something, which is a bit too high. I want my yeast to survive more than 2 days. So I'm going to add approximately 5 liters of water, I guess. There's all the empty sugar bags, using cane sugar. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to add the spices afterwards. And the grapes. Not the grapes, the grapefruits, sorry.